What is going on, guys? I'm DC5 James, and today we're talking about the best modifications that you can do for your K Series engine. I'm talking about the best bang for your buck, and there's a reason that the K Series has become one of the most popular engines in the Honda community. It revs super high, it's reliable, and with the right mods, it absolutely comes alive. But here's the thing. I see way too many people either throwing money at the wrong mods or they're going so hard that their car becomes miserable to drive on the street. Today we're talking about the sweet spot, the modifications that give you real, tangible performance gains without turning your daily driver into a nightmare. We're keeping it street friendly, budget conscious, and in order of priority. So whether you're running a K20 A2, a K20 Z3, or a K24 A2, this list applies to you. Stick around because mod number 4 is the one most people sleep on, and it completely transforms how the engine feels. So let's get right into it. All right, mod number 1, the intake. And yeah, I know everyone talks about intakes, but there's a reason why this is pretty much everybody's first mod. It's cheap. It works, and the K Series loves to breathe. Now, the stock airbox on most K20 and K24 engines is actually pretty decent. Honda engineered it well, but the filter is restrictive. The routing can be improved, and you're leaving sound and power on the table. I would go for a quality cold air intake from either AEM or engine. They're going to run you between $200 to $300 typically. Now, you're not going to get a lot of horsepower out of this, maybe 5, but more importantly, you're going to improve the throttle response and airflow efficiency at high RPM when VTEC kicks in. It also is going to sound much more aggressive. Especially if you're pairing this with an exhaust. It has virtually zero negative impact. If anything, the improved throttle response makes the car feel quicker, even if you don't really see it on the dyno. Now, mod number 2 is where things kind of get interesting. The exhaust manifold or the header. This is genuinely one of the most highest impact modifications that you can make to a K Series, and it's pretty underrated by people new to the platform. The stock exhaust manifold is heavy, it's thermally inefficient, and it's designed for emissions compliance, not performance. Swapping to a quality aftermarket header is going to do a couple things. It's going to completely improve your exhaust flow, it reduces back pressure, and it changes the power delivery curve. Now, if you're shopping for a header, you're going to have like 2 options. You're going to have a 4:2:1 or a 4:1. You may be asking yourself, which one should I get? So the 4:2:1 is where the primaries pair up before merging, and this is kind of more your street friendly choice. It's going to keep mid-range torque, and it's going to keep VTEC feeling strong, and it makes the car feel pretty punchy below 5,000 RPM. If this is your daily driver, this is the one I would get. On the other side, a 4:1 header is where all the primaries merge into one collector, and it shifts power more towards the high RPM. You're going to gain a little bit of top end, but you may sacrifice some low end and mid-range. Now, that's fine for a dedicated track car, but for street driving, I would definitely go with a 4:2:1. I would look at Skunk 2, DC Sports, PRL, or Total Racing if you got the money. As far as budget, you're going to be looking at between $300 to $600 for a quality mid-tier header. You can get budget headers for less, but you run the risk of poor fitment, and a lot of these tend to crack over time. As far as drivability with these, I would say it's pretty positive. You're going to increase your throttle response, torque curve fills in nicely, and the exhaust note definitely gains a nice character without being obnoxious. In a real world scenario, I would expect between 10 to 15 horsepower, depending on the platform and the supporting mods that you have. Now, number 3, the catback exhaust. Now, I want to be honest with you here because a lot of people overestimate the power gains from a catback on a naturally aspirated K Series. By itself, with stock everything else, you're looking at maybe 3 to 5 horsepower. That's it. Here's why it's still on this list. First, if you pair this with a header, which we've already discussed, you're completing the exhaust system and unlocking full potential of that header. The two are going to work together, and you're going to eliminate all the restrictions in your exhaust system. Second, weight. A quality catback in stainless or titanium can remove 15 to 30 pounds easily over the stock system. Now on a light Honda chassis, that matters. Also, I know some people don't care, but a lot of us do. The sound. The K-Series has a naturally beautiful exhaust tone. Pair that with a good catback and it really starts to sound amazing. Now, brands that I would recommend as far as catbacks go, I personally run the HKS high power. Those are what I've always put on my RSX Type S's. I think they're amazing exhausts. They look great. Other options are the Skunk 2 Mega Power. You have Engine or Greddy. You also have budget-friendly options like Megan Racing, and they're acceptable. But you know, you could face some drone issues. And as far as budget, I would look for between $400 to $800 for a pretty solid catback. Now, mod number 4, this is the one I told you about earlier that I think a lot of people sleep on, and that's the camshafts. This will absolutely transform how your K-Series feels. Now, I know that some of you are thinking cams are expensive, they're complicated, I need a tune, and you're not entirely wrong, but hear me out, because the value proposition here is extraordinary. The K20 and the K24 are already equipped with iVTEC, which means Honda gave you variable cam timing and variable valve lift built in. What aftermarket cams can do is change the lift profile and duration of both the intake and exhaust cams, optimizing the VTC window and pushing the power band in ways the factory tune was never designed for. For street use, you're going to want either stage 1 or stage 2 cams. Do not get stage 3. Stage 3 cams are going to sacrifice your idle quality and your low-end torque, and you might have problems with emissions in your state. Stage 1 and 2 give you a broader, flatter, more aggressive power curve while still being completely streetable. The best options are the Skunk 2 Stage 2 cams, which is pretty much the industry standard for a street K-Series. They're well documented. They have excellent mid-range improvement. You can also look at the Brian Crower Stage 2. These are a strong alternative, but they're slightly more aggressive. The budget allows. You can also look into Kelford. They are excellent quality, but they can be expensive. Now, do you need a tune? Yes, and this is pretty much non-negotiable when it comes to cams. Cams without a proper ECU tune will leave serious power on the table and could actually hurt your drivability. So I would definitely budget for a tune when you budget for cams. They're a package deal. Stage 2 cams are going to run you between $600 to $900. And I would also recommend upgrading the cam gears, which is like another $150 to $250. But honestly, the return on these is pretty good. I mean, you could get probably 25 to 40 horsepower on a well-built K-Series with cams, and you would get improved torque across the entire power band. Pair this with an intake header, and you're going to notice a big difference in your car. As far as drivability, with a proper tune, these would be excellent. Idle might be slightly lumpier than stock, but nothing dramatic. VTEC crossover will definitely feel a lot more aggressive. The mid-range torque improvement is immediately noticeable in daily driving, and you will definitely notice it pull harder. Now, number 5, speaking of tunes, let's talk about ECU management. And tuning is kind of its own category, because even without the cam upgrade, a good tune on a modified K-Series is one of the highest value mods that you can do. So whether you're running K-Pro or K-Tuner or even a full standalone like Fuel Tech, proper calibration of your fuel maps and ignition timing and the ability to adjust your VTEC engagement points can extract maximum value from every single mod on this list. Personally, I always recommend either Honda K-Pro or Fuel Tech. Those are probably the best ones in my opinion, but there are certainly others out there. We've got an active tuning community. Information is widely available, and there's plenty of tuners around the country that are capable of tuning these. Now, a K-Pro will probably run you about $700 or more, depending on if you're sending in your stock ECU or if you're buying a new ECU, and Fuel Tech will be a little bit more than that as well. So bottom line, I would highly recommend getting a tune. So there you have it, guys. Let me know in the comments down below. Do you agree? Did I get it wrong? I'm DC5 James, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.